Hello, friends, and welcome to episode number 42 of Nostalgia Talk. I'm James, and before I introduce the guest, as usual, I have some birthday shout-outs to give, a few actually, so please forgive the length of the intro. First of all, happy birthday to Chloe Lang. Some of you I almost said past guests, some of you listeners might know Chloe best as the second actress to play Stephanie on Lazy Town, and she came here for the Lazy Town reunion in the spring, which I hide nothing when I say was, again, one of the happiest moments of my life. And I actually just found out that it's now the most popular Nostalgia Talk ever. So I'm really glad that you guys enjoyed that. It's probably a lot of you guys that enjoyed Lazy Town that enjoyed hearing all them come together. Man, they should really reboot that show. I'd be totally up for it. And in addition to that, happy birthday this week to past guest Greg Berg from Garfield and Friends, Transformers, Muppet Babies, Yo Yogi, and a bunch of other stuff that I feel like I'm forgetting. Sorry, Greg. And also, happy birthday to puppeteer and puppet builder Cheryl Blaylock from Sesame Street, Eureka's Castle. What else? Blues Room, Ubi. And again, I feel like I'm forgetting a bunch of other stuff. So I just made myself sound like a terrible researcher there. But anyway, so happy birthday to Chloe, Greg, and Cheryl. And now on with the show. Today on Nostalgia Talk, I'm very happy to have with me Daniel Ross.
Well, first of all, happy birthday, everybody! And thanks for having me on the show.
Now, for anyone who doesn't know who, and you're welcome, for anyone who doesn't know who Daniel is, as you can tell right there, he is one of the current voice actors of Donald Duck, him and Tony Anselmo. And this is actually really exciting for me because ever since I started Nostalgia Talk last year, I've always wanted to interview one of the main voice actors for the Disney characters, by which I mean Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy. And so this is very ducking exciting. Made a little adult joke there for these
Very
characters
good
that are
choice words there.
At least I don't have to censor it.
We're all quacking up here. We're all quacking up.
Yes. And in addition to doing Donald Duck, he's been doing Donald Duck kind of with Tony for the last 5 years. He's done Donald in various short films and on Mickey Mouse and the Roadster Racers. God, that's hard to say. Or Mickey Mouse's Mixed Up Adventures, which is a lot easier to say, considering that title is a little bit of a tongue twister. And also has done work for the Transformers video games, doing various characters. He did Lucky the Leprechaun in various Lucky Charms commercials. And he's done voice work for Nickelodeon on The Loud House, and recently, a show that I'm really loving, Side Hustle.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you for the resume and shouting that out. I'm sure everybody who was looking at me saying, "Who the heck is this guy?" They're going, "Oh, it's that guy."
Well, we
So
can't actually see you unless they're looking at a photograph that I'm putting in the edit. So
gotcha. Here I'm being all emotive and using my face acting and none of it. It's just my voice. Okay, I gotcha.
Well, at least in the intro we got, at least at the start there we got Donald Duck, so at least everyone knows that.
That's right. Good night, everybody. Thanks so much. I'm kidding.
So,
but thank you very much for the warm welcome. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I thank you for coming. Thank you for coming on the show.
I'm literally still in my apartment right now, so I didn't have to go very far. It's amazing. This Zoom on the internet. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a free trip to Nova Scotia for you, a free trip to California for me.
Exactly. It's very hot out here, and I'm sure it's much chillier where you are.
We got snow this week. It's crazy.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I'm from the East Coast of the U.S., and we actually have weather out there. And in Los Angeles, it's always the same. The seasons out here, we don't get them like everyone else does. We have the seasons are earthquakes, wildfires, avocado toast, and coyotes. That's our seasons out here. Oh, and I'm sorry, pumpkin spice. There's a 5th season as well.
It's funny. I had a guest on this show named Lou Berger. Lou was a writer on Sesame Street and was also the show's head writer. And when I talked to him, he lives in New York, but he was in LA at the time. I actually just talked to him recently. He's in LA right now. And I said to him, "How's LA?" And he's like, "A lot of avocados in LA." And I was like, yes. Really? Avocados? I've been to LA. I don't remember there being any avocados.
Oh, yes. There's quite a bit of variety out here. And I think the last one I had, they were flourishing a cumin salt to make it even more delicious. And it was delicious. I'm not going to deny that, but it felt very bougie.
All right, let's begin. So first of
Yes.
all, also I should mention something I forgot to mention in the intro, that in addition to being an actor and a voice actor, Daniel is also a writer and producer as well, which is pretty interesting. So that's
I
one of,
wear a lot of hats sometimes.
yeah, yeah. Have you ever actually worn Donald's hat?
Not the actual hat, no. Every time I go to the park, he just doesn't want to let me borrow it, and I'm too much of a good guy to ask, because I know he would probably throw a temper tantrum if it went missing.
Come on, you fight! Come on! I'm so bad at Donald's voice.
That's probably what it would sound like.
That is a dream come true for me right there. I've wanted to hear someone do that, like one of the voice actors for Donald Duck do that ever since 1999, and here we are. Man, this is incredible.
Well, I'm pleased to be the first.
All right, so let's begin. First question is, what did you aspire to want to become? Were you more interested in the behind-the-scenes stuff like producing and writing, or were you more interested in acting?
I wanted to be a dinosaur when I grew up. You know what? I kind of went around it in a very interesting way, because I've always enjoyed the performing arts. I always had it in my heart that I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be in movies and theater and all that wonderful stuff in TV shows. And when I got my start, I didn't necessarily know what my direction was. I only knew that I had to make my own opportunities. So I studied musical theater in college. I dropped out of college so that I could pursue film and TV. I was a professional extra for many years and did stand-in work. And then I started producing my own features, so that I had the opportunity to act. And that was a successful venture. And so it's kind of fed into itself for a long time. And then I found my way into voiceover, which has just been incredible. Such an amazing journey. But yeah, I think the performing arts side of things, I enjoy acting. I like bringing some smiles and being part of a really compelling story.
Do you remember the first ever acting role, whether it was voiceover or on camera? Do you remember the very first ever acting role that you did?
Well, professionally speaking, for on-camera stuff, I was a featured extra on the movie Head of State with Chris Rock way back in the day.
Nice.
And I did some work on the TV show The Wire, and other things that would, come through. So that was probably my first foray into, on-camera stuff. And then for voiceover, I think my first paid gig, I was doing radio commercials, English-speaking radio commercials out in Italy, and it was for various products. And then I think I did a car dealership that I was doing radio commercials for. And then it turned into what we're doing now, which is cartoons and video games.
Cool. So as I mentioned in the intro, and of course, one of the reasons that I wanted to get in touch with you about doing the show is because you are one of the current voices of Donald Duck. And having heard you do the voice of Donald Duck, I'm just a kid right now from the early 2000s. How did you? Hi, Donald. You know what? Not bad. This was a really good day. I've been excited about this all day long. My coworkers and I made so many duck puns. So
that's appropriate. That's absolutely appropriate.
Well, hopefully, this show will be very informative for everyone and will not just be someone that's full of quack.
Yes, exactly.
At least
I'm number 3. I'm voice number 3. Donald Duck was originated in the early 1900s by Clarence Ducky Nash himself,
right?
And then it was taken over in the early 80s by Tony Anselmo, and he's still doing it to this day. And he and I just work on different projects. Mm-hmm. So it's really just been the honor of my life to be the third person to have ever done that, and it's exciting.
So how did you get involved in doing that character?
I auditioned.
Okay.
There was an audition that came through. I had just moved to Los Angeles. It was around 2014. Oh, wow. And I got the audition, I think, in early 2015, right after I got my first agency. And my agent said, "Hey, you do the Donald voice, right?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." And so, we did the audition, and I had no idea that it would even go to a callback or anything further in the process, because I'm sure there were thousands of people that auditioned, which I later was told was actually the case. And I had a call back, I had another call back, I had another call back, and eventually they said, you got the job. And that moment, my life completely changed. And I really started to learn about the Disney fandom in particular, and really dive into this amazing character. Because it's one thing to do an impression of a character, it's another thing entirely to fully embody that character moving forward in media. So to emulate that character, I had a pretty decent learning curve, but I really dove into it, and I did my research, and tried to do the best that I could. And I had a great team to work with over at Disney TV Animation to really guide me through how to get to that place. And after several recording sessions, I felt very comfortable just doing the voice and understanding the character. And it was a strange catharsis to have that moment where, oh my gosh, this is Donald Duck. I don't have to do anything. He's just being channeled through me. I'm like a psychic medium. It was very strange, but wonderful at the same time.
Nice. And your first, performance of Donald was, of course, in Mickey Mouse and the Roadster Race. That's still hard to say.
Mickey and the Roadster Racers. Yes.
Thank you. I keep. It's easy to read, but it's hard to say. It's such a tongue twister. Which is a cute show. It's a very cute show. I could easily see them doing a crossover with the Cars movies.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They should totally.
Fingers crossed that will happen in the future. Who knows?
I could totally just see Mickey Mouse going ka-chow at somebody just to mess with them. Was there a certain reason that Tony Anselmo wasn't doing Donald's voice for that show?
The answer to that question is way above my pay grade.
Okay.
I'm just happy to be here, and I always say I'm borrowing the keys to the cabin cruiser for as long as they let me. So okay. I have no idea. I'm not privy to it. Tony's been doing it for over 30 years. He still is, and going strong. So I'm here for my work and my job, and you'll have to ask the higher ups.
Did Tony give you any advice into doing the part? Like, did you?
No, I've actually never met Tony.
Oh, really? Wow. Oh, that actually surprises me.
Yeah, the first thing I thought when the audition crossed my path was, I hope he's okay, because those roles are kind of like Supreme Court nominations. You're in for life, and so I wasn't privy to anything, and I certainly didn't ask a lot of questions, because when Disney calls, you say yes. So
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
But no, I've never met him. I've never had the opportunity to, and I certainly wish him well, and hope that all is good in his world.
Yeah, I kind of had that same wonder when I saw, not that you're not good at Donald, but when I saw that another actor was doing Donald and Mickey Mouse and the Roadster Racers. Ha! I got it that time. Mickey Mouse and the Roadster Racers. When I saw that, I was like, wait, is Tony retired or something? And then I see him, I hear his voice. Well, actually, you guys have very similar voices when it comes to Donald Duck. Like, I can hardly tell you apart. That's how good you are at it. And
well, it lives in the nuance. And when I was auditioning, they asked me to emulate Clarence Nash, and Clarence's version of Donald sounds very different from my version of Donald, and also sounds a little bit different to my ear to what Tony does. But when I started the show for Disney Junior, they asked that I would be able to enunciate clearly for the younger audience. So, the idea of what do you say, and being generally unintelligible, it was my job to make him a little bit more intelligible for the younger audience to help drive some of the plot and the story along, as well as to slightly pitch him upwards to make him a little bit brighter and more accessible. So, again, my original version of Donald Duck, is a little bit different than it's a little bit different. So that was how I was instructed to have the character moving forward, but I can do both ways.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I do notice a little bit of a difference in the physical performance there, like, speaking a little bit faster than Clarence would.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of interesting because being a Disney kid, I was always watching this stuff. I always loved Disney's House of Mouse. Have you ever seen that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they need to reboot that show. Like I always love this is one of the stupidest things ever, but when I was younger, I literally asked my parents if we could go to dinner there.
You have to send a nice letter, and then they'll invite you.
I'll remember that next time I go to California.
There you go.
But as a kid, I just always thought that Donald's quacking, like when he would talk in quacks, I always just kind of thought that that was just gibberish. I didn't realize that he was actually speaking real words until I was a little bit older. I was still watching, am still watching. It's a 22-year-old still watching that, and I'm kind of able to understand what he's saying. But when I was a kid, I just thought it was gibberish. And there's an interesting story about Donald's language. Have you ever seen the cartoon Clock Cleaners?
Yes.
Okay. There's a story that that cartoon was released on a VHS tape that was banned from Walmart because there's a moment in that cartoon where Donald's bickering with the mainspring and he goes, "Says who? You snake in the grass."
Yes.
Some parents heard that very, very incorrectly.
Yeah, no, I get tagged very consistently on the internet of people saying, "Is this you?" And it's a very poorly subtitled version or a compilation of some different things. Donald has never said a curse word in his entire life.
He probably does.
Some people.
Yeah, he probably does like off camera, like when the cameras aren't rolling, because he's like, okay, I got to be appropriate for the kids.
No, he's completely G-rated.
That's good then. It makes it a safer environment for Huey, Dewey, and Louie. I mean, they already get themselves in enough trouble as it is. Have you ever seen? There was another cartoon also that was kind of interesting about Donald's voice and his personality mixed together. It was, I think it was called Donald's Double Trouble, where Daisy breaks up with him. I forget why, and then he sees this duck that looks identical to him with a more well-spoken accent like this. And so he has them switch places so that way Daisy dates the more elegant sounding and elegant looking version of Donald, but every time they kiss, like, those YouTube videos where you see on the bottom triggered?
Sure.
That's almost like what Donald was, because there was an alarm sounding in the background.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Donald's new voice, where he finds the voice pills and he takes it and he swallows it. Oh, Daisy, I must marry Daisy.
Yes,
my voice.
Yes.
I've got a new voice. And I had one opportunity to do that on an episode of Mickey and the Roadster Racers, where Donald is learning to be a gentleman in London, and he's sipping his tea. And as he drinks the tea, the person who's teaching him is saying, "I can't understand what you're saying," and he's trying to say, "I want a spot of tea." So he says, "I want a spot of tea." He says, "I'm sorry, chap, I don't understand you." "I want a spot of tea." "No, I'm still not understanding you." And he's going crazy. So he takes the sip of the tea and he goes, "Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you so much." And I was trying to emulate that moment as a callback to Donald's new voice and try to get the voice right. So that was the one opportunity that I've had to break character, so to speak. Although it's not really even breaking character because it's in continuity.
Right, yeah.
But that was a lot of fun, definitely.
By any chance, this is kind of an interesting question, but recently we just lost Will Ryan, who was the voice of Willie the Giant in various Disney stuff over the years, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and all that. Did you ever get to work with him?
I did not. Okay. A lot of the work that I do is solo in the studio.
Okay.
Most of the actors will go in individually, and I'll sometimes see people in passing. Like I'll see Brett Iwan, the voice of Mickey Mouse. I'll see Bill Farmer very frequently. Tress MacNeille or Russi Taylor when she was still with us. Jim Cummings. The primary core cast of the show. But no, I never got an opportunity to meet him or work with him, and I was very sad about that. But yeah, it was a big loss to our community, and he was beloved by so many.
Yeah. I was talking to Katie Lee in April. Katie was in Darkwing Duck, and
That's right.
and she worked very, very closely with Will. So
Yeah, they were dear friends. They were very dear friends.
yeah. So to wrap up the Disney talk before we move on to some other things, with this past week having been the anniversary of Mickey Mouse's debut, and it's funny, my boss usually comes to work wearing a Mickey Mouse sweater, and so when he comes into the door, I'm like, "Oh, hi, Trevor." His name is Trevor, so I just greet him as Mickey Mouse.
I'm sure he loves that.
So, in honor of Mickey Mouse's 93rd birthday, sorry to all of you out there who are Mickey Mouse fans that are feeling really, really old right now. Just think about how Mickey Mouse probably feels. Do you have any favorite, besides
He
the...
hasn't aged a day. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, that's true. But besides the voice pills one, do you have any favorite moments from like the Mickey Mouse and Friends series?
Oh, I mean, I think one of my favorites from Donald that I always go back to is with Chip and Dale with Apple Core. Apple Core was one of my favorites when I was a kid growing up. Apple Core, who's your friend? No. And then he gets smacked in the face with an apple.
Yeah.
That is so, it always cracked me up as a kid. So that was definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah. One of my favorite Donald Duck moments. I've got so many because I grew up with this stuff. My favorite solo Donald cartoon was probably the one where he's trying to make pancakes but mistakes batter for rubber cement without looking. I don't know if you've ever seen that one, but
I'm pretty sure I have. It's just not coming to mind at the moment. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen that.
my
I've seen everything related to Donald at one point or another, just to be able to pull, from continuity and keep things in character, do my due diligence and research, of course. But there's 87 years of history there, so it's a lot to take in and remember all in one sitting.
Yeah. Not too long ago, my friend, the same friend that got me this sweater, she came over here with her kids and her stepson, and we invited them to stay and watch a movie with my sister and I. And we were thinking about something Disney Christmas related, and Matt, my friend's stepson, he says, "What's the one with Donald Duck in it?" But I remember this line, "Where are my boys? Where are my kisses?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, we can definitely watch that." It was, and for any of the listeners who don't know what the heck it is I'm talking about, it was from Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas, which was from when I was extremely little, and that was kind of done in stories. There were like 3 stories about the Disney characters and how they celebrate Christmas, and in one of them, Donald's nephews are having a blast just with the Christmas festivities and everything. Unwrapping presents and playing with a special gift that Donald got them. You didn't even read the card. I'm still so terrible at that. And so Huey, Dewey, and Louie respond to that by wishing that it was Christmas every day, and they get their wish. And that basically means that it's almost like a Christmas version of the movie Groundhog Day, that they're repeating the exact same moments, not just the same day, but the same moments over and over again. And so Daisy comes to the door, says, "Merry Christmas, everybody." Scrooge McDuck, "Merry Christmas indeed." And then their Aunt Gertie goes up to them and is like, "Where are my boys? Where are my kisses?" And as soon as Matt sees that, he's like, "That is my childhood right there."
I think we all had a relative, an aunt or somebody else who was just all about those kisses and wore the type of lipstick that would stain your cheek for a couple days and leave you vulnerable at school for tauntings. I think we've all had one of those at one point or another.
At least they wish it was Christmas break all the time, so that way they wouldn't have to worry about that yet.
Well, we have a new special coming up in a couple of weeks, Mickey and Minnie's Wish Upon a Christmas.
Wow.
So you'll be hearing me as Donald in that as well. We just had A Tale of Two Witches, which came out for Halloween.
And, I think I saw that. Yeah.
This other one is going to be very exciting. Donald has a nice big part to play in it, and it's going to be a lot of fun when it comes out.
Awesome. Yeah, one of my favorite Donald Duck holiday moments is from that. Actually, it's from Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas, which came out when I was 5, and I remember my sister came home from university in her first year. She came home from university and she wanted to watch a Disney Christmas movie. She's like, what's the one where they're actually in Santa's workshop? And I was like, oh yeah, Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas. But the thing I remember the most from that out of Donald. Okay, I think one of the I'm trying to remember what the funniest moment was with Donald, because there were a few, but one of them is when Scrooge McDuck was making cookies, and Huey, Dewey, and Louie really want them. Like, they just want to get their hands on the damn cookies. And Scrooge is like, all right, you may each take one after dinner. What a tease, first of all. Finally, the cookies are ready, and he lifts up the tray, and they're empty. Huey, Dewey, and Louie got this big guilty smile on their face. Donald's like, how could you? Aren't we innocent until proven guilty? Now! I think I just blew up my mic there from my terrible Donald impression.
Well, it's the nice thing about being an adult is you don't have to wait for dinner to enjoy your cookies. You can do it however you want. But
you can have ice cream for dinner.
Yeah. They were subject to the rules at the time, and you don't cross Uncle Scrooge, let alone Donald.
Especially Donald. Donald's way more stricter than Donald is way more friggin' stricter than Scrooge was. And at least Scrooge spoke real English, so that way it would be easier for them to understand what he was saying.
Well, they all speak English. It's just one of them you can't really understand very much.
Well, it's crazy because when Daisy was first introduced, she actually was voiced by Clarence Nash and had the quack. And I remember seeing that, and it actually really bothered me watching that. I was like, what the hell? Because the Daisy I knew, of course, was Trust McNeil's Daisy.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and same with you.
That Clarence voiced Daisy and also the nephews early on in the process, and so did Tony Anselmo.
Yeah, I think
obviously
Tony
they've changed the voices of the nephews a couple different times. So I don't know when and if they'll be getting back to that or not.
Well, to be honest, no offense to Tony Anselmo. Tony, you're great at it, but it is kind of easier with Huey, Dewey, and Louie for me to actually understand what they're saying. But it kind of makes a good dynamic because Donald's the only one that is speaking, but some people are probably like, what the hell are you saying? Especially young children.
Well, a lot of times you'll notice that the other characters will repeat what Donald said in order to make the situation understandable. And usually it's used for comedic purposes when they don't. But at least in the shows that I've worked on, usually I get a support from or an assist from Mickey or Goofy or one of the others to reiterate what's going on, just in case.
Yeah, I think by the time I became like 5, I started to really understand what Donald was saying, because when he was like, "You three must right upstairs."
Yeah.
Well, to all you listeners out there, please don't give a thumbs down for my terrible Donald impression. I know I'm not that good at it. I'm admitting that. So moving on from Disney, let's talk a little bit about doing Lucky the Leprechaun for the Lucky Charms commercials.
Oh, they're magically delicious.
What was that like? And you probably
really
did him
cool.
you probably did him in ads that I watched.
It's possible. I have no idea. I did Lucky. I did the voice of Lucky from 2015 to 2017.
Okay, then probably, yeah.
The thing about those characters in particular, all characters, is there's no overarching contract that says you are going to be doing this voice for X number of years. You are basically hired and fired every time you go into the studio, and that's inclusive of when I do, Donald Duck. I'm just always fortunate to be asked back in most situations. So the character was never mine, to be able to claim. But yeah, I did several commercials. I did a lot of the bulk of them, I think, were for chocolate Lucky Charms at the time, and there were some regular ones as well. But I've only seen, I think, probably 2 of the spots that I did, and I haven't seen the rest. So they're out in the ether somewhere. But it was a lot of fun. And in fact, Lucky was the first big thing that I booked when I moved to Los Angeles. I was working overnights at Target, of all places. I was an overnight manager, dealing with the unloading of the trucks and pushing of the freight. It was the hardest job I've ever had in my life. And it was from 10 p.m. till 8 a.m. every single day.
Oh, my God.
And when I finally started to feel like, okay, I've got an agent, I feel like there's some work coming in. Now is the time for me to pivot and start focusing on voiceover. it was one of those decisions that I was terrified of because I was giving up my health insurance, giving up a regular paying job, living in an expensive place. It's expensive to live out in Los Angeles. And so I was very nervous about it, but I convinced myself and I said, okay, now's the time. Let's do what we came here to do. And I'll never forget, it was 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm driving off the parking lot at Target for the last time. I said my goodbyes to all my, peers and my crew and everybody else. And my agent calls me and says, you booked Lucky. And
How lucky?
I pulled over my car and I just said, yeah, I got lucky. I got really lucky. Thank you, universe. I got lucky. And really, it was an affirmation to me that trusting my gut was the right thing to do at the right time. Because there's a lot of uncertainty in the entertainment industry. You never know when you're going to be working or you're not going to be working. And sometimes you don't work for long periods of time. So to have that opportunity to jump into what I would consider to be a legacy character like Lucky was just absolutely amazing. I think I was number 6, voice number 6. I think there's been 8 or 9 different people who have played Lucky in his 57 years, or it might be 58 years at this point. But yeah, it was tremendous. I loved doing it. And I was emulating Doug Prees, who was one of the major voices after Arthur Anderson originated it. And so it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. In fact, I've got a Lucky pop figure here in my collection.
Nice.
So,
I should have brought my Donald pop, but I do have this.
Oh, that's great. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's funny because when I was a kid, I used to eat Lucky Charms and my parents would not let me have sugary cereals. So whenever I'd get my hands on a box of Lucky Charms, I would pick out all the marshmallows and I would put them into a little ball and I would eat the ball. And then I would look at my hands and it looked like I murdered a unicorn because it's just multicolored everywhere. And that was one of my fondest memories. So to be able to jump in and be the character was just absolutely wonderful to me. To have something that harkened back to my childhood that I'm now doing as an adult for my vocation, for my job, so satisfying. And the same could be said about Donald Duck. I grew up with Donald. My mom taught me the voice when I was 3 years old, and that was a nice thing between us over the years. So a lot of good memories there.
I actually just had some Lucky Charms this week. It was my coworker's daughter's birthday, and she had a unicorn-themed birthday party.
Yes.
And so they made this very similar. They looked a little bit like Rice Krispies, like Rice Krispie squares, but they were made out of Trix and Lucky Charms.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Crossing the brands. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, if they, he explained it was like Rice Krispie squares. I was like, Justin, his name's Justin. Justin, there's no Rice Krispies in these.
Oh my goodness. Were they like Rice Krispie treats?
They were made to look like Rice Krispie squares, but it was Lucky Charms and Trix.
Gotcha. God, that must have been delicious. It must have been magically delicious.
I was just about to say that.
That's my job. That's my job.
So in addition to all Donald Duck and Lucky the Leprechaun, you've also done work for Transformers. Now, were you a Transformers kid as well?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see behind me.
Yep.
But yes, I'm a Transformers person. I even have ink on me in Cybertronian. The very first movie I ever saw in theaters was 1986's The Transformers, the movie.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I love the toys ever since I was a little kid. And so it was an amazing opportunity to marry my hobby with my job and be able to voice characters for that first iteration of the movie. It was an interesting story because I campaigned to get an audition. Where I lived, I didn't have an opportunity. I didn't have a fancy agency. I didn't have the right materials. I was super green behind the ears. So I campaigned. I would post on some of the producers' message boards at the time. I sent a comic book that I created with a bunch of friends to Michael Bay and Steven Spielberg.
Oh, that's cool.
In the hopes that I would get an audition, and my gamble paid off. I got an audition for the movie, and that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted, was a chance to audition at that time. And I had no idea that Activision was going to contact me not too long after that and offer me the role of Starscream. So that was pretty amazing. And Starscream was one of my favorite characters growing up. So, classic Starscream was voiced by Chris Latta. Decepticons, retreat! Very high pitched, very screamy, because Starscream. And then my version ended up being a little bit different. Initially, they asked me to do something demonic, something scary, something that would scare little kids. So I came up with this voice like this with a breathing impediment. And they're like, oh, we love that. That's what we want. And I get to the studio and they said, no, we just want a light British accent. Ooh. And my inner fanboy went, no, I can't. So you're telling me you want Starscream to sound like this? And they're like, yes, that's what we want. And like, oh, please don't fire me, but no. And they're like, what do you got? And I just, in a moment's notice like this, it turned into, Decepticons, this is Starscream. Make for the rendezvous point. The Allspark will soon be ours.
So it's like a mix of the two, like demonic and British.
It was, well, there really wasn't a lot of British. I would say the pompousness certainly came out in the character. He loves to be in charge. He's very condescending. But this new iteration, I took some vocal cues from Alec Willows, who played Tarantulas in Beast Wars. I tried to embody the character in a certain way, and also, like you said, kind of incorporate what we had done before, because that's what I had rehearsed when I got my script. So it was like, oh, you want me to do something different that I haven't rehearsed? Okay. But I was about 75% happy with the voice when we finished, and I had no idea how big that game was going to be. I had no idea it was going to go on to sell over 1 billion copies worldwide, and that it would be on multiple platforms. It was just amazing. And that really was the first big gig that got me on the convention circuit, talking to other voice actors and kind of realizing that these people are like me. These voice actor people, they're kind of like me in personality and what they like and what they enjoy doing. And I kind of found my tribe that way. And I wouldn't have been able to do that had I not booked that job. And so it's, again, been an amazing journey. I'm still a massive Transformers fan. And I really love the work that we got to do.
That's awesome. I had a very similar experience with playing a character differently than how it was originally written on a show I worked on this summer. I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I was working on a kid's show over the summer as a production assistant, and they had an animated character that was a ghost that they asked the production assistants, can somebody just read the lines so that the kids can respond and then we'll edit it? And so I went, sure. I read the script and I came up with this for the character, a ghost. And I looked at the producers and I was like, hey, can I actually play this character? I want to do this. And they talked about it. And our director put a mic over me and he said, okay, say something into the mic. He didn't specify what. So I went into the mic. I'm a bit of a Judge Judy watcher. So I went into the mic. I went, is not an answer. And they were like, do that. I'm like, no, I'm not doing Judge Judy for this character. And they're like, no, you gotta, come on.
You kind of pushed yourself into a corner there. You gave them an option and they liked it.
Hey, they don't keep me here because I'm gorgeous and 5'10", although I am.
Well, good on you, because, hey, you know what? The worst anybody can ever say is no. So the fact that you took that opportunity to say, can I? That's how you got that opportunity. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they really liked the ghost voice that I had before, which was a ooh, and I did too, until they hear me doing Judge Judy, and I'm like, oh God, not gonna friggin' happen. But it did end up sounding like that, so I'm pleased with that.
You got the gig. That's all that matters.
Yes, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your work behind the scenes as a writer and producer. Do you remember the first ever opportunity that you had to do that?
Yeah, it was an opportunity that I made with my best friend Justin Tim Payne. I thought
you were going to say Justin Timberlake, and I was like, what?
Oh well, him too. I mean, we're constantly in sync with each other. But yeah, so Justin and I, we were both struggling actors in the DC Baltimore market, and we met on this independent feature called Crawler, which was a sci-fi horror flick, and we just became really fast friends. And we had gone to see the movie Clerks 2, and there was a point where they say, let's buy the quick stop. Let's do that for ourselves. And we kind of looked at each other and we're like, we should buy the quick stop. So we made our first movie, Ninjas versus Zombies. And it was, born out of this idea that let's walk around Blockbuster and see what title isn't there and work around that. And we came up with this really fun story, and we got it made. We got it internationally sold. We got it on Netflix. We got it on in Blockbuster stores, in other video stores. Like we had some major success with it, which was fantastic. So we just continued. We struck while the iron was hot. We did Ninjas versus Vampires, which was our biggest success. Same thing. We got that internationally sold on Amazon, on Netflix, the whole shebang. And then we followed up with Ninjas versus Monsters to make a full trilogy. And
Nice.
after that, I just, I kind of was a big fish in a little pond for a while. So people would approach me with opportunities to produce their features. And my one caveat was, well, if I'm going to produce it, then I want to be in it. So I was able to kind of leverage what I was doing to get what I wanted, which was to be an on-camera performer. But it was fascinating working behind the scenes. You learn so much just about like the logistics of what goes in front of the other, and what contracts you need to have, and all the litigious things. And I just really enjoyed it. My biggest takeaway from that was just being able to bring people together, people who I thought were talented. I've got a friend who does this. I got another friend who does that. Well, let's put them together and see what happens. And that happened to be how we got those films produced. We developed a small family of people who are really passionate about it, and I'm very proud of it after all these years. It was a lot of fun, and it really taught me. Again, in the case of Transformers, my motto is it's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. You have to go out and make your own opportunities. You have to be loud. You have to put yourself out there for the things that you want. And so that methodology served me well as a producer. And I love doing it whenever I can, but voiceover has me pretty busy these days.
I can tell. First of all, congratulations on your success with those films. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So let's wrap it up with a fan question. This question comes from one of my coworkers, Sheldon Steinbeck. I hope I said that right.
Hello, Sheldon.
And he wants to know, have you ever seen Donald Duck wearing pants?
Yes.
Care to explain how?
Nope, it was a yes or no question.
I was thinking about that question with him today, and I remembered that there actually was a cartoon in which Donald and Mickey were going to meet Daisy and Minnie at Goofy's restaurant, and he says, no shoes, no shirt, no service. And so it's like, okay, Mickey ain't got no shirt, Donald ain't got no shoes. I'm surprised they didn't go with no pants, no service. But it's like, give me your shirt, give me your shoes. And Donald ends up going there in Mickey's shorts and his sailor suit and shoes. And then Mickey realizes that he is naked in public.
Well, there you go. I mean, I wouldn't say that he's naked, because that's just not how it works. But there were a couple episodes, I think, of between Mixed Up Adventures and Roadster Racers where Donald was going swimming and he had swim trunks on.
Okay.
So that was always fun to see those little things. But yeah, people ask me all the time, how come he wears a towel when he takes a shower and he doesn't wear pants when he's out and about? And my answer to that is, once again, the answer is way above my pay grade.
Well, Sheldon, there you go. Hopefully that answers your question.
Sheldon's like, you didn't answer my question, but I did.
Oh, Daniel, that brings me down to my least favorite part of Nostalgia Talk. Time to wrap it up, unfortunately. Is there anything you'd like to say? I know, right? Is there anything you'd like to say to finish up?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and thank you to all of your listeners, Sheldon, especially you. If you'd like to follow me on social media, I'd greatly appreciate it. You can find me across everything under actor Daniel Ross. I've got a TikTok that I love, and I've got over 1 million followers over there. So I love being on
Nice.
TikTok. But follow me on Instagram, Twitter, across the board. If you'd like an autograph, you can go to my website, actordanielross.com. And I also offer voiceover coaching. So if anybody out there is curious about the voiceover industry, you can book me through my website as well. So
Mm.
that's my spiel, and I'm sticking to it.
All of the links that Daniel mentioned will be in the description below if you want to visit those. Follow him on social media. And Daniel, thank you once again for coming on Nostalgia Talk. It was a dream come true to get to finally talk with one of the Disney voice actors for the classic characters.
Oh, the pleasure was all
Thanks for coming, Donald. Thanks for coming, Donald. It was very nice to have you.
mine. Well, it's my pleasure. Donald says thank you.
I take it that's the side effect from the voice pills.
That's correct. That's correct. Perhaps now Daisy will marry me. Marry me, Daisy.
And we shall live in a big, expensive mansion with Huey, Dewey, and Louie and Scrooge McDuck. Although I can't imagine why Daisy would want to live with Scrooge McDuck. And to all you listeners out there, I will see you on the next Nostalgia Talk. I don't know when that'll be, but I'm going to try to get at least 1 or 2 more out before Christmas. So thank you for listening. And if you're in the States, happy Thanksgiving. Peace.
Gobble, gobble,